Thank you so much for your kind words and for the invitation. Like Lisa, I don't feel like I belong here, and what an incredible group of women. Aren't they amazing? I didn't grow up wanting to be a doctor. I wanted to be the astronaut. And I'm here to tell my story as well. And I didn't come from a medical background. I didn't even come from an educated background. I was born on a farm. I drove a tractor. I didn't have a computer. I didn't have a phone, and I'm not techie, and I don't know how to work my phone. But I found my way. I found my way to university, and I was working in microbiology at the time. And I was a basic scientist. I loved the test tube. I loved the microscope. And my plan was to do a PhD. And that PhD was going to be in why bacteria form slime on catheters. Doesn't that sound exciting? So the night before the medical school applications were done, my supervisor at the time said, listen, Sharon, if you really want to do basic research, you should think about medicine, because the grant opportunities, the ability to get research funding is far greater if you do medicine. And I said, I'd never wanted to do medicine. It's not me. But that night, I went home, I filled out my application, and I got into medical school. So I moved to Toronto, I moved to the big city, and my very first night as an intern, I was at the Walmsley hospital, which doesn't exist anymore. And there was a young gay man came into the emergency room, short of breath. And the ER doctor I was working at the time said, he's just nervous. Give him a paper bag to breathe in, which I did. Of course, he didn't get better. So we did the x-ray, and he had complete pneumonia in his chest x-ray, and we called down the chest doctors. And the person at the time came down and said, well, I bet this is a case of HIV. I said, what's that? I was from London, Ontario. I didn't know about this disease. I never met a gay man. What's this all about? I went home in tears that night. Here I was, my very first night as an intern in the big city with a disease I'd never heard about. Well, that night changed my career. And I then started to read about this, became fascinated by this, and clearly here was a disease that was all those things in the test tube that I had studied when I was in undergraduate microbiology, but these were in people. And this career has opened up some incredible challenges. And it's been very interesting to be part of a disease that has evolved from this life-threatening disease to the one that it is today. So in the early days of my career, I would spend almost every single night sitting at someone's bedside watching them die. We had nothing to offer. There was no treatment. It was largely gay men who were being ostracized by their families, their friends. They were looked at as if they were contagious and poisonous. We wore masks and gloves and went into the rooms holding our breath. But then treatments evolved, and we were able to see people take new treatments, improve their health. And then this opened up so many research opportunities for me. We were able to study the infections that they had. We were able to study the drugs to improve their lives. Then the drugs started to have complications, and so then we started to work on that and the simplification of therapy. My research now is in geriatric HIV. Who would have ever thought that people would live to geriatric age with this disease? But as a research career, it's been incredible. I've just had so many opportunities, and like you, I love to travel. And HIV certainly opens up many opportunities for travel, and I've certainly seen the world. And I've had the opportunity to teach and to share my research in many parts of the world that are disadvantaged. And I particularly have enjoyed the opportunity with young women who've been in many parts of the world where we think we are compromised as women in our careers. But in many parts of the world, they're even more compromised, and being able to watch them rise above that and be able to be the leaders in their own field. I've been able to involve my family in this. My family, oh my God, my daughter is working in HIV and with gay men. When my mother invited me to give a lecture at her church, it was probably the most nervous lecture I had ever given in my life. My uncle became the potentate of the lodge, and I had to give the women's talk at that. My spinning instructor decided to do a charity for HIV. I gave a lecture on a spinning bike. It was absolutely incredible. And the girls that I go swimming with, we call ourselves the Fish. When I hosted the World AIDS Conference in Toronto, they came and helped with the catering and everything for the people there. My joy is in mentoring, and I've been able to mentor many young women throughout the years and help them with their own career. But the other major thing about HIV is we involve our community, and I think Lisa talked about the community a little bit as well. And HIV is really the leaders in community-based research. Who knows what questions to ask better than the people infected by a disease? And so we have worked with our community all along the way, and that's another joy that I have. And we now have grants that we get through CIHR and other institutions where the community designs the research questions and they design the research projects, and we're there to help and support them. So that's been a great joy in my life as well. So it's been quite a journey. It's been a journey from a disease which has created so much fear and anxiety in the world to an opportunity and a place for rejoice. I've had the opportunity to meet very many critical people along the way, and I've had the opportunity to work with other people who are working with this disease in other countries and understanding some of the challenges that they have in their own environments as well. But as I alluded to, my joy is in mentoring young people, and particularly young women. So my advice to the young members of the group is go with your gut, do what you enjoy, whether it was your path or not. Make sure you have a mentor to help guide you along the way and help you have those opportunities. And take advantage of situations. I would never have dreamed that this would have been my career path, but just let it happen. I thank you.